board. So we have manganese. What else do we have? Chromium, and we have, all right, so how many manganeses did you say we had?
2.
And how many chromiums?
10.
And how many oxygens?
35.
All right. So we have 2, we have 10, and we have 35. All right, and what do we need from there?
The mass of that.
Okay, so what's the mass of manganese?
54.
Just 54?
0.9.
Okay, so if you rounded, I assume you rounded that to 55. Okay, and chromium?
52.
All right, 52 or 51.9 if you used the decimal, and then oxygen is 16. All right, let me grab my calculator because even these are a little big for my tiny brain. Oh.
Could be 109.
Yeah, it was like 520,
And about 60.
and then the last one was probably 60.
1,189.
Ooh.
Did you get like a 1,185?
All right, so numbers are going to vary depending on whether you use whole numbers and how you round it, right? So if we want to find the percent manganese, all right, percent manganese would have what on top?
109.
109, because you need the mass of the element, over,
100.
and then times. All right, to find the percent chromium, we would put what on top? 51.9. Whoops. 519 over, and then times 100. And the last one, the percent oxygen, we would say 560 over times 100. All right. So what answer did you get roughly on the first one? Change colors. So you got roughly what? 9?
Yeah.
Okay. And here?
43.
43? And here?
47.
Questions about how to do that? Are we all okay with percent from the other day? Okay. Now, like I said, this tends to be one of the questions that's missed a lot on the test, or people get to like the 1,188 and then they forget. All right. Even though it's a really easy question, it's missed a lot because we just don't practice. All right. So I use this same question to do the second question on, no, I didn't. I used a different compound. Forgot what I was doing. Number 2, I patterned after one of the questions on the test yesterday. Some of us did a fabulous job with this question. Some of us didn't. So I put something similar to what was on the test in the opening just to refresh something that some people got wrong. So what do we do here if this was one of the test questions? What am I going to do if this was a question we have to do? Because you will see this again. Not on this next test, but the test after it, you will see the same kind of question. Make a T-chart. All right, so 56.4 grams. What goes down here? What goes on top? All right, if I want moles, I'm done. Did I ask for moles? Nope. So on the bottom, I'm going to put what? And on the top, I'm going to put molecules. So on the bottom, we're going to put what beside moles? And molecules, I heard somebody say it's the same as what? Atoms. So I'm going to put. And then beside grams, I'm going to put what?
We're going to figure out the formula mass.
We're going to need the mass of SO3. So how many S's are there? And how many O's are there? So sulfur has a mass of 32. Oxygen has a mass of 16. So I get 32. I get 48, I think. So that's going to be 80. So I'm going to put 80 there. And then I'm going to calculate. So 56.4 times 6.022 second EE 23, 80. Now, when I do this, a lot of people wrote down answers like 4.24, molecules. Because they forgot to look on their calculator and follow the answer all the way to the end. If you punched it in your calculator and you look all the way to the end, at the end of the calculation, it says times 10 to the what? 23rd. So when you're calculating, if you're one of the people who's got to make up the test, try not to forget to look at the end of the line on the calculator and make sure you don't forget your exponent if your answer has an exponent. All right, some people forgot that. Happens all the time. Battery's dead?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I have any in here, Bryce. Let me look. Yeah, I do actually. Bring it here. Pop those 4 out. Let's just change them. Oops, take it back. All right, questions about the oven? All right, well, I'm thinking about it before I send the people who were absent out in the hallway. Next week, all right, you've got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right, we can do the test on Tuesday. Wednesday, I can only stay until about 4:10. So those of you who have quizzes and things to make up, it's a good day. Those of you who need to make up a quiz on Thursday, I can stay till about 4:10. I can do that too. We're doing a lab on Monday in class. If you miss this lab that goes with today, it's going to take us about an hour to do it. Oh, never mind. It'll be on Tuesday. So if you're out of school on Tuesday, you're not going to have an opportunity to make it up Wednesday or Thursday because you won't have enough time. So the following week on Tuesday, I can't stay. Okay? So if you can't do the test on Tuesday, the earliest you're going to be able to make up the test, I think I'm safe Wednesday and Thursday of the following week. All right, I'm just telling you this so that you know, because what happens the longer you wait to make up a test? The worse you do. All right, that was Tuesday's good. Wednesday and Thursday are bad. Tuesday, the kids have a dentist appointment. Wednesday and Thursday are still okay. All right. So these two are okay. So I can do the test here and I can do here, but these are the next 2 weeks for the test. Okay. So those of you who are absent, those are sort of your options to make the test up. So if you can't do Tuesday and there's a number of you who need to make it up, I would choose here if it's at all possible, because if not, you're going to have to wait over a week to come make it up here. Everybody got that? All right. So I need my absent people to go outside. So that would be Gabriel, Jennifer, Hema, Hyro. No, you were not. Stop that crap and get out. He's the high score.
What'd you get, man?
Now, I don't want to see anybody's cell phone out while we go over the test. Y'all hear me? If I see your cell phone out, I'm giving you a 0. There were, I think it was 3 A's. There's Trent had 1, Sarah Elliott had 1, and Brian was our high score with a 96. We had a couple B's, and then we had some god awful messes. Okay. It's almost up here, so I'll use curves. Now, if you have questions, feel free to ask them because there are no test corrections. So if you need to ask something, now's the time. I missed slanted our Google video so they can't see anything if they watch the live feed.
So
I can actually, I think, put it on mute too. Hold on, I can do that too. Hang on. I can figure that out. There, that's on mute. I can't hear anything. I just got to remember to unmute it. Now I can't see it and I can't hear it. Okay.
So, like, I just ran 34, you said -1. What's that -1 for?
Need you to reduce. The formula can be reduced. It's probably got like 2 and a 4 or 2 and a 6.
Oh. 44, 'cause I need to
44, you got 4.75 moles. And I asked for formula units, moles on the bottom, formula units on the top. 1 and 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. And you will see these kind of questions again when we do the stoichiometry test, because we'll do all kinds of stoichiometry on that test. And these are types of stoichiometry.
I had that.
That would have been correct. Did you put the mass of aluminum sulfate?
Yeah, because like, I kind of crossed it out at the
You
top.
only do that if there's grams. There's no grams in that chart. Alicia. Which one? 39. All right, 39 says lead 4 sulfate. All right, so lead has a 4. Sulfate is SO4. It has a 2. Parentheses. Bring your 2 down and your 4 down. What do you do to this 2 and this 4? So that becomes 1. That becomes a 2. So you have PB with a 1 if you want. I won't even get upset if you write it. And SO4 with a 2. 35. Iron 3 hydroxide needs parentheses. Iron has a 3. Hydroxide has a 1. Parentheses around the polyatomic ion. 1 comes down. 3 comes down. FeOH with a 3. The only time the parentheses are optional is when this number's a what? It's a 1. Anybody else? Bryce. 25. All right. 25 says copper.
Oh, we had to put
Cu. Yes. Copper.
I thought that was just for like.
No. Chloride gets IDE because it's binary. You look up copper on your reference table. It has +1 and +2 listed. That means it needs a Roman numeral. You have to use the Roman numeral because there's more than one number listed on the sheet. Okay? Now, what number came from the copper right there? That's why you have to write the 1. You have to write the 1 because there's how many numbers listed on the sheet? 2 different numbers. Who else? 24. Did you write manganese? Okay, did you reuse the Roman numeral? All right, look up magnesium on your reference table. Pull out your yellow card. Those are usually the 2 most common errors. Tell me how many numbers are written beside magnesium. That's why it doesn't need a Roman numeral. Okay? If it had another number written there beside it, then you would need the Roman numeral 2. But because there's only that +2, every time magnesium is written in a formula, it's always going to be that 2, so we don't ever write the Roman numeral. Okay? 40, which one? 43. So you've got 128.9 grams, and you're going to moles. Y'all's mistake on this was that y'all can't write iron 3 cyanide because you don't use your parentheses. Iron has a 3, cyanide has a 1. Parentheses around the polyatomic ion. 1 comes down. If you didn't use your parentheses like you were supposed to, you added up the mass wrong. So there's how many Fe's? 1. There's how many carbons? 3. There's how many nitrogens? 3 times 55.8 times 12 times 14. So you get 42 you get 36, you get 55.8. You add it all up, you get 133.8. 133.8. So when you divide, you get 0.9633 moles.
So it's 45
Is what now? Distribute HNO3. And this is one of the 4. Anybody else?
Simple 30.
30. Okay. Diphosphorus trioxide. This is the only one on the test that I told you had to do an old system. Okay? So there were only 2 questions that were written in old system. This one you had to write in old system. So you had to take this and say di, and you had to write phosphorus. And then you had to take the 3, and you had to write tri and oxide. Okay? Now, the only other one that I had was one written in old system, I think somewhere else on the test, but I don't remember where. 45. Okay. I was going to say, I know I had an old system somewhere. There were only 2 on the test that I had an old system. That's why I said there was a total of 4 points you would have lost somewhere if you didn't know it. It was very small. That's why I said stock is what, and even on the coming tests, almost everything is in stock system. Very little of it is in old system. Remember which one? 45? Oh, carbon dioxide. Well, I figured I was safe on that. Y'all just had biology. How many of y'all don't know what carbon dioxide is after a whole semester in biology? What's carbon dioxide from biology class? What? Y'all remember? CO2.
DI for the oxide.
Oh.
But then I did.
I say, if y'all had Miss Thornhill, she'd come back and kill you. Peroxide? What about it? What is this formula? Water is H2O, right? Peroxide is H2O2. That's peroxide.
Oh. Okay, cool. I used to always think carbon dioxide and peroxide were like the same thing.
Anybody else? Question before I take them back.
What's his name? Little mistake.
Little mistakes hurt. All right, let me have those back. Make sure I take mute off on that so that we will be in good shape and people can hear now that we're done going over the test. All right. If you will, Alicia, since you're up and wandering that direction back to your seat, let Ian and our classmates get back there. All right, do y'all have a calculator for today? You're going to need your periodic tables and a calculator. All right, we're going to learn how to do empirical formulas today. Now, on Tuesday, when we come back, we're going to do a lab with us, but it's a paper and pencil lab, so don't get excited. It's not all that exciting. It's not very exciting. But it's a nice way to practice what you learned today so that on Wednesday, hopefully you do great on the quiz. You will not be able to use your notes. Did everybody hear me say it? You will only be able to use a classmate on Tuesday. Okay? So, Some of you do a great job doing your homework, practicing and whatnot. Some of y'all, not so hot. So you can decide whether you're going to be loyal to your classmates and take on a sucky partner or whether you're not. I will not force you to work with someone who sucks. Okay? So, you know in here who does their work and who doesn't just as easily and well as I do. Okay? So, you choose. Those people who don't, if you don't want to work with them, you're not going to be forced to. Now, we're going to talk empirical and molecular formulas today. So, what is an empirical formula? An empirical formula is a formula in lowest or simplified terms. Sometimes it's referred to as the simplest formula. All right, some books will even call it the simplest formula instead of the empirical formula. So this works very much like math class in terms of the name. We're going to be looking at subscripts to figure out if a compound is an empirical or a molecular formula. So, if we have something like C2O4, which we were actually just talking about, is C2O4 in lowest terms? Why not, Emma? That's right. All right, so if we look at the 2 and the 4, the 2 and the 4 can be reduced into 1 and 2. So this can be reduced into 1, and O can be reduced into 2. So this is the empirical formula. The C2O4 is going to have a different name that we're going to learn to calculate in a little bit, and it's going to be called the molecular formula. All right. Now, do all formulas reduce that way? No. Sometimes they don't. Okay. So, if you have a formula such as N2O5, can it be reduced? No. You know, in math class, the 2 and 5 are already in lowest terms. So, in this case, this one is both the empirical and the molecular formula, since it cannot be reduced. Okay, since that formula cannot be reduced, it is already the empirical formula and it's the molecular formula.
What is that? EMPT?
It's empirical plus molecular. It's not EMPT. And empirical and molecular formula. Does that make better sense? Now, one that will often throw students or cause issues. What if I give you this one? Can it be reduced?
No.
Why? Okay. Hyro says no, and he said S has a 1, which is exactly the right answer. All right? That S has a 1 right there. Oftentimes, students will look at the formula and they automatically see the 2 and the 4, and they want to do what with the 2 and the 4? They want to reduce. They overlook the S with the 1, and they want to reduce the 2 and the 4, and they automatically do that and ignore the S. All right? But the answer is no, it cannot be, and Hyro gave the right answer. It cannot be because the S has a 1 on it, and there's 3 elements. In order to reduce, you have to be able to reduce all of the subscripts, and in that formula, you can only reduce how many? You can only reduce 2 of the 3 subscripts. You cannot reduce the sulfur subscripts, so you can't reduce any of them. Does that make sense? Yes? With me, Destiny? Okay. Cold? You look like you're all hunched up like I'm going to freeze to death in this classroom. Say what? If Leandra works with you, I'll be stunned speechless. You know, and the sad part is, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to work with you. Because if you would actually do some homework and come in and look like you were prepared, based on the answer to this question, you clearly have brain cells. And you know and understand what's going on in your high road. Okay? But you come in most days and you look like you haven't prepared. You haven't done any homework. And you just sort of look like, I don't care. I'm here. But you're trying to mute me. Yeah, I don't mute very well. I have a big mouth. Ask my husband. All right. But you have got so much potential in brain cells. People should be fighting to work with you in here. Not to get away from you, but they should be going, I want to work with Hyro. All right. Now, how are we going to work empirical formula problems? All right. They can come in 2 varieties. They can either give us percent or they can give us grams. So, if they give us percent, we have to do step 1 and change it into grams. So, step 1 is to change percent to grams. Sometimes they won't give us percent. They'll just give us grams. So we can skip this step. So, number 2. What did I tell you? All math problems have to be worked in chemistry class. What do we have to convert them to? All grams have to be changed to what? Moles. We can't convert anything in chemistry class unless it's in moles. So our grams are going to have to be converted into moles. So we're going to change grams to moles. Now, step 3 is pretty easy because it's a basic math skill you guys already have. It just sounds really confusing, but it's not. We're going to divide the smallest number by itself. And then all other numbers of moles by the smallest number. This is sort of like math class. You know how if you divide the left equation by 2, what do you have to do on the right side of the equation? Got to do the same thing. Got to divide it by 2. So if we divide one number by something, we got to divide the other numbers by that same thing. And then number 4 is the easy part. We just have to write the formula. This is the downside to being beside the course room when you take chemistry. But Miss Rector's brother's here today working with a group from, with a special group out of the course. They're working in the back room, so we're going to get serenaded a lot today, I'm afraid. All right, is everybody caught up? All right, we're going to do 3 different samples. The first one is very straightforward and fits all 4 steps very clearly. The other 2 examples, and I would recommend writing all 3 of them down, because the second 2, I put twists or tricks into them just because I can. Okay? So the first one is the very straightforward, no twists, straightforward. This is an empirical formula problem. It follows all 4 steps. Now I'll give you a moment to write it down before we walk through and how to do it. Okay? That way I'm not talking while you're writing. We'll just listen to the music while you write.
Right.
It's not exactly my style, but it'll be okay.
Sound like Jacob. Yeah.
At least it's not that Jingle song from the fall. You've been on concert choir in the fall.
Nope. I used to be a voice.
That's not my thing.
Really?
Yeah, I kicked that.
Why?
You couldn't sing.
He really tried that. I was I used to teach them.
How were you in the
In 6th grade.
I took mine.
I thought they were starting to come out of 8th grade.
I was that, that's why.
No, I remember the time like everybody.
They kicked him out. Mason. Mason is, yeah, but me and Mason. We played around the last concert, so they got that. You tried out for cool. Yeah, Mason. Yeah. Did you really?
No.
Oh. We had to sing happy birthday to him.
All right, we got it written down. All right, so what is step 1? So what do you think we ought to do? How are we going to do that? Easier than that. Got to do something different.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
Just put it down.
All right. If we add up these 3%, what are we going to get? A what? We're going to get 100. So we're just going to assume that this is a 100-gram sample. So we're going to take the percent off, and we're going to write grams of sodium. 22.65 grams of sulfur. And 44.99, except Miss Wall's got to write the number down right. That's very helpful. 44.99 grams of O. Now, if you copy the numbers down wrong, you will get a mathematical error. Like I just did when I was writing it down. Be very, very careful with stuff like that. Now, step 2 is a breeze. What do we do next? Exactly. So what do I do to do that? Exactly. So, what goes on the bottom of my chart? Yep. What goes on the top of my chart? Yes. What goes beside mole? What do I put beside grams? From the periodic table, right? So 22.9 and 16. Anybody lost by how we filled in those parts? No? Everybody's with us. All right, so I'm going to put you in the calculator. 32.38 divided by 22.9. And I'm going to write this in several decimal places. And the biggest mistake that's made is people tend to round this too much. So I took it out several decimal places. All right, so we've successfully done step 1 and step 2. We've changed percent to grams. We've converted to moles. Is everybody with us so far? Okay. All right, step Said to do what?
Divide this by seven by seven.
All right, so now you got to find the smallest number. Which one's the smallest? All right, we're going to divide it by itself. So 0.7078 divided by 0.7078 is C. Now, if I divide that number by 0.7078, what do I have to do to all the other numbers? Divide by 0.7078. Now, I want you to punch those in your calculator and see what number appears on the calculator. Okay? Mainly because they're not going to be whole numbers. They're going to be close to whole numbers. And I want you to see what they turn out to be. Yes.
1.99.
So when you get 1.99, what is 1.99 the same as? That's 2. Mainly because the next example, remember I said there was going to be a trick? It's not going to turn out to be a whole number. Okay, so I want you to see the difference. And so when you divide this one, what do you get? 3 point what? 96?
97.
All right. 3.97 is what? 4. All right. So the last step is to write the formula, right? So when I write the formula, what is my first element? And typically I just put them in the order they come in the question. So what's my first element? What subscript does it have?
2.
Next element is?
So,
What subscript does it have? And the last element is?
oh, it's a 4.
And what is its subscript?
So,
Exactly. Questions? Jennifer is looking at me like I have grown antlers or something. This subscript right here, this 2 we just got, 1.99 was a 2, went with what element? You can put them in, but there's nothing on the outside. And this sulfur had a 1, and oxygen had a 4. You with me? Yay or nay? Don't just say yeah and not no.
Yeah.
Okay. Emma? Yay?
Why'd you divide by the 0.7?
Because when you get these green numbers, which are your moles that we got when we converted, you have to pick the smallest number and divide by the smallest number. That's how you get the whole numbers. Okay? Anybody else? Destiny? Question?
Okay, so
Shh.
like you start
Kevin.
with the first number you get.
What do you mean? I started with what? Are we talking about writing this formula or like Hema with how I divided?
No.
When I write the formula, I just typically put it in the order that they put it in the question, because the question is usually going to be in the order of the formula, because most people would not know the order. Okay? So if you just put it in the order it's in the question, you'll be fine. Anybody else?
Okay, so the percent is grams.
Yes. When you're talking about in step 1, take the percent off and write G. Yes. Anybody else? All right. Write that one down. This one works the same way, except I've put a trick in it. Something's going to be squirrely. So I'll give you a minute to write it down. And you will see this trick on the quiz and the test. right, we got it written? So what do we do first?
Change it to grams.
All right, so what do I have for potassium then? 26.56 grams of K. All right, 35.41 grams of chromium, and 38 point, whoops, make that look a little better. 38.03 grams of O. Everybody with us on change your percent to grams? Okay, so what do I do next, Leandra? What do I do next?
You convert it to moles.
Okay, so what goes on the bottom line, Rebecca? What goes on the top line? What do I put beside moles? Everybody with us with what Rebecca said? Okay. What's my mass for potassium? 39.1 for chromium. And for oxygen. Mhm.
What? Hold
What?
on.
Everybody with us on step 1 and step 2?
Bless you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes? All right, Jennifer, what do I do in step 3? Divide by the smallest. Alicia, what's the smallest? All right, the 0.67. So if I take the 0.67 and I divide by it, all right, so that's going to be a 1. 0.6822 divide 0.6792. 1.00 would be 1. And 2.376 divide 0.6792 would be 3.498. All right, now I need a 4 here. Big one. All right. So what do I do when I get 3.498? What's 3.498? That's 3.5. Okay. So the question is, let me move this up out of the way. That is not what I did, you stupid number. Get down here. All right. So I get 3.5. All right. So what do I do with 3.5? All right. I get a lot of rounded up to 4s. Some people over here said it's 3. But I can't do that. Can't round it up. Can't round it down. So how in math class do y'all get rid of a half? Yes, you do. Think math class. Before Mr. Strong did.
That's your blurry.
What's blurry? What? How you get rid of a half?
Add another half. Oh, no.
That's what I
So if I write a formula,
Yeah.
K has a what? CR has a, and a O has a 3.5. Did y'all write any formulas like that on the test yesterday? No, we're not going to start today, so we got to get rid of that half. So how do we get rid of a half in math class? Yeah, I know it's blurry. Anybody feeling a little clearer than heaven is over there? How about if I use the word reciprocal or inverse? Does it help bring some clarity?
How's you gonna make it into a mixed number? I mixed up with what's it called?
I just want to know how on earth y'all get a math
I forgot
credit.
it was called, but like, you know,
We did.
We
when,
ain't had no messages, Mr. Reyes. Well, I had.
right, when we had Mr. Rose, he left. We was mixed up on computers.
So if I said the word inverse, what does inverse mean? Well, okay. So what's the opposite of a half?
Right, no, right.
Oh,
Right, what is the?
Okay. All right, y'all are completely lost. Tell me what a half is. Give me what was that, Trent? 1 divided by 2. Okay, that's a half. And I said, what's the inverse? Okay, 2. So I'm asking you maybe to think about what we could do with a 2. With this formula. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So we're going to take this whole formula and we're going to multiply it by 2. Now, we can't just multiply this by 2, which is what Eric suggested, because that would only fix that. And just like in math class, if you multiply the left by 2, you got to multiply the right by 2. So if we're going to multiply this by 2, we got to multiply these by 2 also. So we're going to put a 2 out here, and we're going to multiply the whole formula by 2. So we're going to wind up with what formula? K2 CR2O7. So basically, what we just did. Don't call anybody that, please.
Oh, that.
What'd you say?
Aside from the fact you use profanity, we don't refer to our classmates that way.
It kind of slipped down.
Sometimes there can be internal conversation that processes through there. We don't let it flow out. Okay? When you get 1/2 for a subscript, multiply by 2. Now, you could have the same issue if you got a third or a fourth or any other fraction. But this is where it's nice to be in a first year chemistry class. You will either get a whole number or you will get a half. You will not get anything else that's weird. So if you get something like 3.33, you have a mistake, okay? Because your answers will either turn out to be a whole number or they will turn out to be a what? A half. That's it in a first year chemistry class. Do you all hear me say that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, last example, and then y'all are going to do something for me. Does everybody have what they need? All right, this one has one last trick to it. Actually, I'm only going to get you started, and then you're going to work this one for me. So I'll give you a chance to write it down, and then we're going to see what you can do. See if you can figure it out. This one, the setup is off. The problem works the way the last two do. The setup is just strange. You know, just one day I'd like to go to the news and not read that President Trump has done something else that's ridiculous.
Girl is blessing everybody on Instagram about us. Not Instagram. So, when you say compound, is it like a starting compound or will we end it compound?
The ending compound. So, what's different about this question? What do you notice is different?
It doesn't give us a compound.
It what?
It doesn't give us a compound.
What do you mean it doesn't give a compound?
For the 10.50 grams.
Okay, so the 10.150 gram means what, Liliana? Be specific. What is that referring to? Because I think you're trying to tell me the right thing, but I need to understand what you're telling me.
I don't even understand what I'm saying.
You don't even understand what you're saying. All right. So the 10.15, let me change color so it's the same color as the question. All right, so the 10, look you marker. So the 10.150 gram. All right.
It doesn't give us grams for phosphorus, but it does for oxygen.
Okay. So grams of oxygen. Brian says that it gives us a mass of oxygen. So what's the mass of oxygen?
12.7.
All right, 5.717 is the mass of oxygen, Brian says. But he says there isn't a mass of phosphorus. Do we agree with his assessment? Okay, so there isn't a gram of phosphorus according to what Brian says. So, does everybody see what Brian's saying? Do we agree with his assessment of what's given in the question? All right, I got Howard going sure like he's not interested in what's going on. Yes, no?
It's gonna ask Eric a question.
All right, he is correct. So how are we going to get phosphorus's mass then? What are we going to do if you have a question like this and you need to find an element's mass that's missing? What do?
Subtract it.
You do not have to use the periodic table.
I'm gonna say subtract.
You just have to subtract.
But can we?
Guys, all you have to do is exactly what several people on this side of the room said. You take the 10.150, which is both, which is why I was harping on Liliana, because she kept telling me it was a compound. Because it's both phosphorus and oxygen together, right? And that 5.717 is of just oxygen. So if we subtract them, what's going to happen to the oxygen?
It'll be 4.133.
It will, but hang on a second. What's going to happen to the oxygen?
It'll go.
What's the word I'm looking for? What's going to happen to the amounts of oxygen? They're going to do what to each other? Looking for a C word. It's going to cancel out, okay? The oxygen is going to cancel each other out, and I'm going to be left with just phosphorus, which is how much? 4.433 grams. So now I can set up my two charts. So how much do I have for phosphorus? 4.433 grams of phosphorus and 5.717 grams of oxygen. All right. You take those two and find me the formula. You finish the question.
Well, thank you.
Tell me. Come on. Find me an answer. What? You got questions on it? That's why people want to work with you. You don't do what you're supposed to do in
Can I do it on the
class.
board?
No.
I was about to ask if I can do it on the board.
I heard.
I got the answer.
Then do it on the board.
I got you.
No, she said.
No, you didn't do what you were supposed to.
Uh-huh.
He did.
Sit down. Can I get my? Yeah, let me get my.
You remember those numbers?
Yes. Can you move this up? Okay.
That's why I asked if you could remember the numbers so that I can give you a board big enough you can write on.
I told you, whole boy.
You do what you're supposed to do. Now, what you
Can't
got the
do
board?
it. Can't do it.
Got it?
Oh. Oh, that's so ugly.
I don't care if it's ugly. Work quickly. I don't have all day.
Okay, I got you.
Let's take the best instructors. Anybody else want me to check their work?
What's my? Is it phosphorus like 30?
30.9.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Oh, what was actually again? Like 4.3?
4.33. See, you still haven't done anything.
0.54.
He's hating his head.
Make you nervous.
So,
Huh?
1.4.
You talked to Dylan this week?
4.3?
430.
Yeah, you.
400.
Oh. You see his Instagram post?
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
Follow Dylan on Instagram.
He said, good there.
Like that.
Oh, no, smoke shop.
He was here.
What, this is third and fourth?
I don't know. He was here when I was leaving.
It's always the third and fourth, or
Yeah.
fourth period, then he
Wait,
came, or
he
maybe he
came-
only gave weight training.
He came to first period yesterday.
He came to first period and left.
He came back.
You gotta go back to work.
Right.
I told him, "Sorry, it's not me."
Man, he didn't go to my class.
He probably wasn't ready for the test.
Well, that's ugly.
I don't care. Everybody's done. We're waiting on you. Work a little faster. I don't even know how many days it is.
Ah, damn. I forgot what number.
How many is it?
Yeah, it is. It's wrong. I don't want to do it no more. I messed up.
Can I do it? She said it around.
Wait, Graham was supposed to be 16.
Yeah.
It is 16.
No, the one at the top.
You got
Wait, no, that's
You
what.
haven't
That's
flipped.
possible. I did. Wait. So which one
just
is
wait
wait?
some.
Which one?
16 and 30.97.
Oh.
4 point.
Oh, got you. See, this is why I love you guys.
What was the first day of the semester?
Ah, so this shit wrong. Oh, I mean, it's like wrong.
That shit great.
You should go. You don't need to.
Yeah, he's very good.
All right, give me the answers, bro.
You still have to not go.
Point.
Skip 1, 4, 31.
151.
I'm being.
I messed up.
Well, we gotta go early.
What's the second one?
Really?
Yeah,
Point 3. No, wait. Where'd it go?
it's right there.
Oh, point.
0.2 wait.
Wait, oh, that's the first one. 0.3573. .3573.
Are you sure?
Yes, I already did it.
Huh?
You don't feel like the slash is
Flip
grass
it.
level?
Divide them.
Yep,
Like, I feel
Understand.
Wait.
Yes.
me too.
You gotta flip.
Oh, what doing no
She's
more?
been arguing
Give
about
up.
work from.
No, you're not.
All right, bro.
Oh, yeah. Just like now.
That's a laugh.
No, it don't. It still hurts.
Oh.
She gave me one.
No.
She said the 1431 first, and then automatically expect.
Because you were doing this
How
one.
do you expect me to do it? Put it at the bottom.
I don't know. This is one.
Really? 0.1 divided by 0.1 is 2.4.
Come on.
Now I messed up.
So can I do it? So can I do it?
Not me.
Put one there.
And then put the 2 points in.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so is that the answer?
B1, O's, 2.5, multiply by 2.
Why does it do that?
Because it's not based on touch, it's based on breaking a plane.
Oh.
There you go. Questions? All right. Does everybody have how to do this? All right, let's go.
I didn't get the right answer, though.
I didn't doubt that you got the right answer. It was your work that was all jacked up.
I did a call last night.
You did it on purpose. You did it on purpose.
Now, whoever just threw that nasty tissue and missed, put it in the trash can.
Pyro, you already know it's pyro.
Nasty tissue.
I'm gonna pick it up for you. Just be charged.
No, don't waste my tissues. Make him pick up his own nasty tissue.
Oh.
That's the last box I have.
Oh, nah. Don't even try to blame me for it.
find some tissue, would that be a test grade?
No, it will not be a test grade like ever. Maybe if I retire and somebody else gets the room. Now, with molecular formulas, come on. We got the second half of the lab. You'll be able to do them on Tuesday. Now, molecular formulas. Molecular formulas show, all right, the actual number of atoms in a formula. Now, these may or may not be able to be reduced. Okay? So, some of these will be able to be reduced, some won't. So, if we look at some examples just to illustrate how these work. If you have something like S2O6, can that be reduced? Yes or no? Really, I got like 3 people who've answered me. There's like
S10, I mean 04. What is now?
I hate to point out how y'all got a credit in the math class again. But really?
S103.
Okay. So S103 would be the reduced version, right? So this is molecular. And this would be empirical.
What is that?
Now, so what?
What is that? Say under these.
these may or may not be able to be reduced. Now, that doesn't mean that they can all be reduced like that one. So suppose I have something like Cu2SO4 like we had a minute ago. All right, same question that Hyro answered a second ago. Can I reduce this one? The answer is no again, because this S has what subscript on it? A 1. So this is both the empirical and the molecular formula. Because that one can't be reduced, okay? So it works just like the examples that we did a little bit ago. It shows the actual number of atoms, and sometimes they can be reduced, and sometimes they can't. So, in the top one, they can, and the bottom one, they can't. What? I do. Do I have to get it at this moment? I mean, are you like dripping? Remind me when y'all are writing down the sample in a second. I get it. Okay. All right. Is everybody caught up? Got it, right? All right. So the steps for this one, I'm going to show a little bit different. All right. First of all, you need two things. All right. You must have one. You have to have the empirical formula. And two, you have to have the molar mass. The molar mass just flat out has to be given to you. The empirical formula can be done in two ways. The first way we're going to do it, they're going to say, here's the empirical formula. Nice and easy. The second way we're going to do it is, they ain't going to give it to you nice and easy. You're going to have to do what? You're going to have to find the empirical formula like we just did. So it's going to be a combo question. Okay? Now, how do we solve? Okay? So the steps. Take the mass that's given. Divide by the mass you add up. Now, the one that you add up is from the empirical formula. Okay? So there's going to be a mass given to you in the question. You're going to divide it by the mass that you add up from the empirical formula. Now, when you do this, you're going to get a whole number. When I say a whole number, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you don't get a whole number here, you have messed up. It can only be a whole number. If it's not, I would strongly recommend you recalculate or redo the problem because it's wrong. Okay? Now, you take the whole number and you multiply it by the empirical formula, and you get the molecular formula. Okay? All you have to do is take that number you get, whatever it is, and multiply it by the formula. Because that number is what the formula was reduced by. If you get a 4, the formula was reduced by 4. You multiply it through the formula to get the original formula. If you get a 2, the formula was reduced by 2. You multiply it through the formula to get the formula. Now, if you get a 1, what does that tell you the formula was? It was the same one. It wasn't reduced, was it? What do you suppose the most common number is you're going to get when we do this? 2. 2 is the most common number they're reduced by. All right, does everybody have it? If you don't, say so you finish getting it. Are you sure? All right. Write that down while I get Leandra a Band-Aid. All right, have we had time to write? All right, yes, no? No, Jennifer shook her head no. Got it done, Trey?
Did you make that?
Make what?
To be-
The B? No, I inherited the B from someone. The B's kind of ugly, but someone gave it to me my first year teaching, so I've just sort of kept it for nostalgic reasons. Huh? Yeah, but he came with a room, and somebody gave it to me 26 years ago, so I feel bad getting rid of him now.
God. It's about to be 10 years for my time.
I know. He's been laminated a couple times because, his leg ripped off once, so, I had to take it back and laminate it and keep him together.
So you have to eliminate tape?
Yeah, otherwise his leg came off. That's why he's up there, so nobody messes with him. All right, he was down a lot lower. He's probably got a little stain in some spots on him too. All right, so what do I do to solve? What's the step say?
Take the mass that was given.
All right, so what's the mass that's given?
Well, we're gonna have to find the opening number.
283.889, all right? And I hear Brian saying we got to find the mass. So what are we going to find the mass of? All right, so how many P's do I have? 2. And how many O's do I have? All right, can we just use whole numbers since we got to add this one up? So 31 and 16.
Yeah.
So 62? 80? 142? Anybody already trying to shred that up? Am I right? I know you're working ahead. Is it right? Okay. So, where do I put it? Under. So it goes on the bottom, right? All right. So, when I divide, what kind of number do I have to get? So, when I divide, what do I get? Well, yeah, it's not going to be exactly a whole number, but it better be like 1.99 or 2.00 or 3.99 or something like, it better not be 2.75. All right, what do I get when I divide? 1.99 is the same as 2. Now, this means that my formula was reduced by 2. That's what we just found. Okay? We found what the formula was reduced by. So this step right here that we're doing, this whole number times the formula, is we're going to get back to what it used to be. So we're taking the 2 and we're multiplying it by the formula. So what's the formula? P2O5. And what do I get? P4O10 is my answer. That is my molecular formula. Okay? Now, see if you can follow my train of thought here. Every year when I do this on tests, people do what to that answer? Exactly. Now, if you reduce your answer, what do you wind up with? The same thing you started with. You just wiped out all your work, okay? So if it's a 7-point question on your test, I'm going to take at least half because you don't even understand what I'm asking you for if you wipe out everything you just did, okay? So don't do that on the test, okay? Does that make sense? Don't do that stupid stuff. All right, y'all do that one for me real quick, and then we're going to do the kind you're going to do on the lab Tuesday. Suck it up, Dan. Suck it up. If today's bothering you, you got a rough way to go between 9 and 2.
It's not bothering.
Don't worry.
It says, suck it up.
Well,
Don't you know about me?
Being bored is not something that bothers me.
Why am I singing chopstick? What? You don't think it's chopstick? Harry Potter glasses.
I don't even know why I stopped by your desk to see what you got done. Exactly. Wasting my time.
I'm working on it now.
Wasting my time, 17. See?
I do all the other work.
Yes, you do, but I wrote practice it. Good.
Yes, I know.
Good.
It's crazy. I still get the right answers even though I do it wrong. Basketball. I spent one like 2 of those.
Take the math that you have 68, or 78, divide by the max, you add up, you got to add up that CH.
He's still making that.
Yep. Divide by 13. You get 6. Now you take the 6 and you multiply it in the formula. So that 6, so the formula was originally reduced by 6. You multiply the formula by 6. So you already lost that. Sure?
No, I'm trying.
All right. Balance. Y'all got it over here? What'd you get? Yep. Yep.
You know it,
How about you? What'd you get?
Nothing.
What? All right, so what'd you get together?
Yeah.
It's
not. Which one you looking at? Which one you looking
And the only reason you can add those is because these are both ones, right?
Oh, you're trying to get
So when you
on.
add, you get 13. That's what you got. And when we divide by the 13.
Be confident. You got it. You can pass it.
Did you get another?
Yep.
96 on your first one too?
93.
All right, did everybody get C6H6?
Yes.
All right, last question for the day. Last one, right there. All right, last question. A compound with a formula mass of 42, write it down, of 42.08 is found to contain 85.64% carbon, 14.36% hydrogen by mass. Find the molecular formula.
Okay.
Now, we want to find the molecular formula, just like you just did. But what does this question not have that you just had? I got a mass. All right, there's no subscripts, which means I don't have what then, Gabriel? The whatchamacallit formula is called the what?
Elliptical formula.
The empirical formula. I knew what you meant. Okay? So, as you're writing this down, the thing you need to notice is there is no empirical formula. Okay? You need to find one. Okay? That is the first thing that we have to do in the question. Because it's not given to us, we have to do it.
Doesn't it give us carbon?
So what would we do first? Let me let you finish writing the question down, and then we'll talk about it.
You can bring them into.
Because I know some of you are still writing the question down, so you'll be behind. Some of you aren't, and that's okay. And those of you who aren't and know what you're doing and want to keep working it, go ahead. Just work ahead. But those of you who need the help, I'll work it in just a second. Stop. It's rude. Suck it up.
What's rude? What?
Did I bring some?
No.
Oh, you had a notification you were interested in. All right, so what do we need to do for those of you who are waiting on me? What do we need to do first?
No, put in some grams.
Change it to moles, all right? So I'm getting rid of the percent and writing grams. So 85.64 grams of carbon.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah?
Not empirical, but molecular formula, will we still have to reduce?
Well, you still have to do what?
No, never mind, I lied.
Okay. All right, where did I put my calculator? I've lost it somewhere in transit.
What you looking for?
My calculator. I know I used it earlier today, didn't I?
It's yours.
No, mine has a label, but I got it. Thank you, though.
Is this it right?
I'm not. So it could be, you've got two back there. Maybe I walk back there and set it down. It's entirely possible. Does it have a white sticky tag on it that says, huh? No? All right. So what do I do with those two numbers once I have the mulch?
Add them up.
I would do what?
I mean, not add them up, but,
Divide by the smallest. So 7.136 is 1. 7.136 is 2. So my empirical formula is CH2. All right, so that is the empirical formula. Okay, so this is sort of step 1. Now I need to turn around and do the molecular formula. Okay, so what do I do to do the molecular formula? What do I do?
You divide the 42.08.
Take the 42.08 and do what with it?
Divided by,
Divide it by,
we have to get the formula mass. So
got to take the formula mass of what?
CH2.
CH2.
Yeah.
So I need to find the mass of my empirical formula, right? So how many C's are there? How many H's are there? So times 12 times 1, we get 12, we get 2, we get a total of 14. So where do I put the 14? Under the 42. So when I divide that, what do I get?
3.
I get 3. Now, what does that mean?
Y'all multiply CH2 by 3.
CH2 by 3. So 3 times CH2 will give me C3H6. This is my molecular formula. Yes, we do. You know me well enough to know we have homework. On a weekend. Well, it's not a vacation. You do have a 3-day weekend, I'm aware. All right. I'll tell you which one I want you to do momentarily, because we're not doing them all. 2, 3, 4. Is that back down here either? The heck? I put the calculator. All right, if you will, on the front side. Everybody looking? I want to do 1, 3, and 5 on the front. It says empirical formulas. On the back, let's do 1, 3, and 4. That's 6 questions.
Okay, so you.
1, 3, and 5 on the front. 1, 3, and 4 on the back. Somebody tell Hyro what it is. And y'all get your calculators up here, and maybe I can actually figure out what the heck I did with mine. To do what? It's Friday of a 3-day weekend. You lost your mind.
You know how quick I take my foot?
I do. You know how quick I get out of here on Friday?
I don't. I'm pretty fast.
It's pretty quick on Friday.
I'll just stay one.
Monday will be fine. Wednesday will be fine. But not on Friday. Yes. We will still copy it down. Oops. I can fill in what you were missing if you bring me your paper. I'll finish doing it on your paper. I'm sorry. I got a little crazy. I deleted.
Everybody in.
Come on, get my calculators up here. But here's mine. One of you goofuses took mine again. What is it with you people? Where are my calculators? Get them up here. People that make me mad, they're these calculators. I'm missing one. Thanks, Trey. Y'all put your butts in the chair. I ain't sound like Landon.